If you have time, I want to tell you a bonus story. I didn't tell you last week after the class. We had a bonus story. And I sent it out as a clip as a bonus story. So now a bonus story about Kaddish that I'm going to record separately, and I'll send it out as well. I did last time we didn't have a chance for it. Here's the story. This is a true story. The story I'm going to tell you is a crazy story. Like last week's story is a crazy story, but this story is documented with the names and everything. In the city of Pressburg in Germany, the very famous rabbi, now like 200 years ago, called the Chassam Sofer. His son Moshe Sofer was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Yeshiva in Pressburg. He was called the Ksav Sofer. Okay? The Rosh Yeshiva, the famous rabbi. Moshe Sofer was his name. And he had a yeshiva. And in the city of Pressburg, there was a very wealthy merchant who had a custom that every single day he would bring the meister, the tithe of what he had made the day before. He would bring it to the yeshiva. They should support the students in the yeshiva. Okay? This was a custom he had for many years. Stop sharing. Second. Stop sharing 1 second. So this was his custom for many, many years, that he would every single day he would come to the yeshiva and he would bring whatever he made the day before, 10% he would give to charity. Sadly, he passed away very young. He left behind a widow, a wife with 5 girls. No sons, 5 daughters. Since there was no sons, so the widow comes to the yeshiva, to Moshe Sofer, and said, I want you to continue. I'm going to continue doing what my husband did every day, bringing charity. I want you to say Kaddish, every day to say Kaddish in the merit of my husband that passed, and the learning in the yeshiva should be in his merit. And so it was, a year went by, every single day she would come to the yeshiva. She was a very smart lady. She knew how to run the business. Business was very successful. And every day she would come on the way to work, she would bring a donation of what she had made from the day before. When the year finished, and they finished saying Kaddish, she told Rabbi Moshe Sofer, I want to continue giving you money, and you should continue saying Kaddish. For anyone that needs someone to say Kaddish for them, that has no one to say Kaddish, I want to pay for Kaddish to be said. For anyone whose soul is alone in heaven, has no family saying Kaddish for that person's soul. And the students in the yeshiva should continue to study in the merit of anyone in Gan Eden that needs, in heaven that needs. And so it was 10 years went by. She kept on every day going to the yeshiva. They kept on saying Kaddish for anyone that needed, etc. The wheel of fortune turns, as it does. And this woman went from being a very wealthy woman, running a very successful business, and the business started to slowly get worse and worse and worse. And her donations got smaller and smaller until we reached the point where instead of making money, she was losing money. And every day she was losing money, going into debt, until she could no longer afford to give donations. But worse than that was that her children were all of marriageable age. She had daughters. And people thought she's a wealthy woman. They were expecting, a big dowry. The expectations when you're considered a wealthy person is high expectations for the wedding, for the dowry, for the boys that were being offered to her daughter, people that she knew she didn't have the money. In those days, girl had to come with a dowry. She didn't have a penny to her name. She was deeply in debt, and no one knew her story. She felt terrible shame. So one day she goes to bring a donation. She still tried to bring donations to the yeshiva, even though she was losing money. She felt, how could I stop paying? That they should, she kept on bringing money. So eventually reached a point where she didn't have a single penny to her name. She had to go to the yeshiva. She had to go to tell the rabbi that, I'm sorry, I don't have any money. I don't have, not even debt money, nothing. I can't continue giving. I don't have anything left in my home. We're living at home in abject poverty, struggling to keep the business afloat. And I don't have a single penny in my house. Can you imagine how difficult it was for this lady to come to the Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Moshe Sofer, and say, for 10 years I've been giving you support, and now the wheel of fortune has turned, and the first time she told anyone what was going on inside, behind closed doors, the financial difficulty she was in, how her daughters were waiting at home to get married, and she's turning away all the matchmakers because she knows she has no money, but she's embarrassed to tell them. So people are knocking on the door with all these different names, and she's sending them all away. She pours out her heart during Moshe Sofer, and of course he blesses her and says, I'll help you, whatever. She leaves his office, and she's heartbroken. First time she let it all out, she sits down on the stairs on the sidewalk outside the yeshiva, and she begins to cry. She's crying. On the street, she's sitting over one tear, she's crying. All of a sudden, a very well-dressed man comes over to her. An elderly gentleman, looked very, wealthy, put together. Says, "Why are you crying?" So she tries to ignore it. Says, "Whatever, it's not important. Don't worry." He says, "No, I see something is bothering you very deeply. I can help you. Tell me what the matter is. I'll do what I can to help you." So the she's already crying and she'd already shared her whole story. With a stranger, she tells him the whole story. "I used to have a lot of money. My business went south. Now I have 5 girls at home. I have no way of marrying them off. I'm turning away the matchmakers. I'm knocking on my door. I have no money to marry them off. I have no money for my business. I'm deeply in debt," etc. So he says, "How much money do you need?" So he says, "Look, you have 5 daughters. Each daughter will need at least 1,000 gold coins of a dowry, 1,000 gold coins for a beautiful wedding, plus your business, you need 10,000. I'm going to give you 20,000 gold coins. I think it was a kroner, in whatever the German currency was. I'm going to give you 20,000 kroner. Let's go back into the yeshiva. Right, here's the yeshiva building. I know the yeshiva. Let's go inside. Let me write you a check. And I want witnesses to sign that I gave the check to endorse it, because if you're going to go to the bank with this check, they may not believe you." She doesn't know what's going on. Like a guy out of the blue, like an angel just came, saying, "I'm going to give you a check, 20,000 kroner." She couldn't believe it. He takes her back inside. They go back into Rabbi Moshe Sofer's office. So this rich man says to the Rosh Yeshiva, "Call me 2 of your top students. I want 2 witnesses, 2 Adim, 2 witnesses to sign on the check that I'm giving this check." So he calls 2 of the top yeshiva students to come into his office. One was his son, Moshe Sofer's son, forgot his first name, and one was Rabbi Yaakov Sonnenfeld. Yaakov Sonnenfeld would eventually move to Eretz Yisrael and become the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim for the state of Israel even. And that's how we know the story. Rabbi Yaakov Sonnenfeld, he was there. He was a witness to the story. They come into the office, and he tells the 2 witnesses, "I want you to sign. I'm writing here as a check. I'm writing a note. Not a check. That wasn't a check. I'm writing a note on the Shiva letterhead that I want her to go to my bank." He says, "Which bank is her bank? Go tomorrow morning. I want her to give this to the banker. You should give her from my account 20,000 kroner. I want you both to sign as witnesses on this document that I'm giving her this gift, 20,000 things." Then he said that to the boys, the 2 yeshiva students, "I want you both to give me your yeshiva notebooks where you write your notes of classes. I want to sign my signature in your books, and no one should doubt that, it's not a legitimate signature, it's forged. I want you to see my signature, to compare the signatures." Anyway, they do this whole transaction. No one knows what's going on. Tells her, "Here's a note. Tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning, go to this and this bank." Tells her the most prestigious bank in the entire city of Pressburg. "You go to my banker, his name is whatever, give him this note, and he'll know to give you the 20,000 coins." Okay, they leave. Afterwards, Yaakov Sonnenfeld said that Moshe Sofer, after that, hold on a second, why did we ask him for a donation for the yeshiva? They ran out, they couldn't find it, he disappeared. The next morning, early in the morning, he said to go tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. She comes to this bank, this fancy bank. She walks in. She asks for the banker. So I have a note. Here's a contract document from so-and-so to give me 20,000 kroner. The man looks at the contract and he faints. He faints on the spot. He faints in the bank. They come running. They go, "What's going on?" They grab the lady. "What did she do?" Finally, he revives himself. He says, "Where's that lady?" So we took her. We grabbed her. He said, "Bring it to the back. I want to speak to her." So he starts to interrogate her about, "Where did you get this letter from?" So she says, "I was sitting on the stool and I was crying, and the guy just walked over to me. I don't even know who he is, but he gave me the thing." So he says, "You have witnesses? Who are these witnesses on the thing?" So he says, "They're from the yeshiva." So he says, "I want you to go to the yeshiva." He asks her, "Would you recognize the man that signed the check?" So of course I recognize him. He says, "No." So would the boys recognize him? Of course. We're all in the room together. So he says, "I'm going to honor this check, but I first need the witnesses to come to the bank, to come and verify it. And my wife is a co-signer on this account. She's going to come, and I want you to explain everything that happened." She goes to the yeshiva. She gets Rabbi Sofer. She gets Rabbi Sonnenfeld to come to the bank. This banker's wife comes, and he turns to the woman and he says, she maybe repeats the whole story, and he says, "Would you recognize the man?" She says, "Yes." He pulled out a picture. He said, "That's exactly the man." So he says, "This man was my father. My father passed away many years ago. He passed away a number of years ago. I am totally, completely not religious. I never did any mitzvah for my father, nothing at all, totally not religious at all. I didn't say Kaddish, I didn't do anything. Last night, my father came to me in a dream. And he said to me, tomorrow a woman is going, you should know there's a woman in the city of Pressburg that has been paying for yeshiva students to learn and to say Kaddish in my memory. You didn't say Kaddish for me. You didn't do anything for my soul. But this woman, she ensured that my soul was taken care of in heaven. Now she needs my help, and I'm going to help her. I want you, she's going to come in tomorrow I'm going to help her. I want you to help her and do whatever I write in the paper. And I didn't believe, I woke up, whatever, a dream. And then you walk in with a paper signed my father's signature that he gave you this paper. I couldn't believe it. His wife, who the co-signer of the account, wasn't Jewish. This man was intermarried, this banker. But he says, now I realize the truth of Torah. I see the truth of the soul. I want to go back to religious lifestyle. I want to go back to going to yeshiva. So Moshe Sofer said to Rabbi Sonnenfeld, I want you to make a chavrutz, a study partner with him. And he started to learn with him. And his wife, who was not Jewish, not involved in Judaism, began to study with him. She converted, became a full Jew, 100% a Jew. They became a religious couple and began to live a religious Torah lifestyle. And the banker said, 20,000 I'm going to give you is for my father's check. But in addition to the 20,000 he's giving you, I'm going to give you an additional 20,000 kroner of my own money. So his money, but I'm saying I'm going to give you an additional 20,000 besides what my father's going to give as my own thank you for taking care of my father's soul when he passed. And she said, I don't need it. I have enough. I'm giving it to you. And she in turn gave half of that to the yeshiva. And she had the money then, the other half, to rebuild her business. Her business became very successful and flourished again. And this is a story, we know the name, Rabbi Yaakov Sonnenfeld, the chief rabbi of Jerusalem, had a study, they made up to study together every day. So him and his wife, they became religious, started to live a lifestyle of Torah mitzvot once again. That is the power of Kaddish.